So I was at a point where I couldn't bike, couldn't play soccer, couldn't, go on my longboard, and I felt like the world had kind of collapsed. You hit points where you're like, maybe I won't bike again, maybe I won't jog again. So I had ACL surgery and 2 meniscus repairs about 6 months ago, and it's been about 4 months since my second surgery. I had a manipulation under anesthesia, and what I'm trying to do is put together a video to show how e-bikes have been helping with this process. If you don't say action once, I think I'll be pissed.
We'll get you.
So my knee, it was last July 17th, 2019, I think forever ingrained in my life now. Was playing soccer on an artificial turf field, just went to go plant, and I heard 3 pops. Turns out those 3 pops were both my meniscus and my ACL, all 3 fully torn. Basically, if I was older, they would do a full knee replacement. Before the knee injury, weekend volleyball with the friends, biking every day, I commute via bike, e-bike. Soccer, I was in a community league, I played pickup basketball, I longboard on the boardwalk, I was learning to surf. So basically my whole life was activity. And I think that's the hardest part about it, is like overcoming the fact that like eventually you'll get better, but when it takes 6 months and then 9 months, it feels like it'll never end. I mean, it was 8 weeks I was in a fully locked cast, so I could move. My friends pushed me around in a wheelchair to a Red Sox game, which was really fun. But my own walking ability, I'd say 8 weeks of not being able to move my leg at all. When I finally got out of the brace, they were doing a lot of PT every single day. And then I'd go home, and for 8 hours a day, I would be in a flexionator, which moves your leg manually from like 0 degrees to 90. And I would do that every single day for months, for 9 hours a day. I mean, I would leave physical therapy in tears a lot of days, because I would leave saying, okay, maybe I'm not walking normally again. So the best thing about the e-bike for me was I was not gaining flexion or extension. I just was not tracking forward no matter what I did. And the e-bike, from the day I tried it to my next physical therapy session, I gained almost 8 degrees, and then I think it jumped to like 12 in a week. And that really allowed me to start doing more in my daily life, even walking comfortably. The e-bike kind of surged me forward in that aspect. About a week ago, I went to see my physical therapist, and my flexion was at 118 degrees. Within 1 week of being back on the bike, I've gone up 7 degrees. Which is just incredible, especially if you've had this surgery, you know how slow that process can be. And then once e-biking came back into my life, things like kayaking, like, I feel comfortable carrying my kayak to the water because now my knee bends better, it feels stronger, it's gaining that strength. So all the activities that are not high impact knee activities, I can still do, and the e-bike spiked that confidence in that. It allowed me to like be outdoors again and really kind of explore my area, and even though I can't jog, which isn't fun anyway. Now I can like go fast again. I've always been that type of person that just wants like a little bit more exhilaration out of their day. And the e-bike has opened up that again for me, and I don't have it anywhere else in my life, which is I think the most important thing about the e-bike. Just going over some progress I've made. You can see my bike in the back. I'm actually going to assist on a tour today, something I didn't think I'd be able to do. So I started on the e-bike February 26th. Today's March 4th, and after my first week of e-biking, my flexion, as I mentioned in the previous video, had gone up 7 degrees from 118 to 125. 125 I was super pumped about, but I've been biking every day, not letting that be good enough. I went in today hoping to get 2 or 3 more degrees, and I measured at 130, and I do think I could have got 132, but try not to push it too hard every day. I have PT again tomorrow. But I'm going to get back on the bike today. I'm going to ride as much as possible, and I'll follow up with a video to see if the e-bike has pushed me to potentially like 133. That'd be great. When you consult with the doctors about what you should be doing outside of physical therapy to kind of rebuild your strength and gain the degrees of motion, they do push cycling. And I think it's great. Anybody on bikes is just a good thing. For me, I was never a cyclist. I grew up on a bike, but I kind of gave it up. Getting on an e-bike allows me to, I tend to overdo things. So usually I'll ride or walk until I can't do anymore, but you forget you got to come back. So on an e-bike, it allowed me to really stretch my range of where I would go. I mean, I would bike for 20 miles out and then you go, oh my God, I got to get back, because you're so excited to be back and doing something. And without the assistance, I wouldn't have been able to get back. I would have been calling my partner to see if she could come pick me up. I would have been having to like walk the bike back. So the e-bike allowed me to work it as hard as I wanted in the low. I mean, I would ride off sometimes in eco, and then when I really got worn out, the knee was just done, I could throw it in turbo and safely get home without having to really push my knee farther than it should. One of the things I want to talk about for when you're looking for an e-bike to rehab the knee, there's a few things that I think are necessary when buying one. My first opinion is avoid the rear hub. The weight and the throttle will kill your progress. If I had times where I could have just relied on a throttle system, I probably would have, and that's not going to bring your process forward. Where having higher assistance levels only allows me to still move my legs, still work it a little bit, but without doing nothing. So I think that's step one. Also a dropper seat post. I think no matter what bike you get, if you get a beach cruiser to help kind of rehab your knee, get a dropper seat post installed. I was able to start at a really high point so my knee isn't bending as much, and then as my knee loosened up, drop my seat post a little bit at a time, and then it would start to hurt a little bit, so I'd turn up my assistance, it would relax, I would drop my assistance, drop my seat, and it was kind of like a nice scale where like the lower I went, the more it bent. And then as I started to get sore, was ending my ride, I could raise my seat post up again. And if I had to stop every single time to do that, I think I wouldn't have been as into the e-biking. But with the dropper, it made it very easy. Another really important aspect, I think, if you're gonna put on a dropper seat post and your knee is still at the beginning stages of rehab, you're gonna be out of your seat post collar pretty high. So one of the things I always install is a riser handlebar, just because I wanna be able to still be comfortable, and if my seat's way up, and then I'm way forward, it's not as comfortable, and I'm out there to rehab and not be miserable. So I think that's important. Also good pedals. A pedal that really your foot sticks onto. A pair of Chester pedals would be great. Because I did notice at first when I had just like kind of generic plastic flats, my foot would slip off, and it's scary when you have a knee injury, like any change in motion. So some sort of pedal, dropper seat post, and a riser bar I think is essential to kind of the rehab stage. I mean, the freedom of an e-bike after the surgery has been a life changer. I mean, I went through almost 8-9 months of thinking I wasn't gonna do any sport again, you know, any athletic. Walking burned me out. Like my surgery was rough, and I didn't develop as quick as I hoped. So with an e-bike, I mean, I was telling you earlier, I mean, I biked 62 miles this past weekend. I mean, I don't even like driving 62 miles. So this allows me to be outdoors, and like in the La Jolla area, there's a lot of, you know, even though I haven't fully built up the confidence of a trail, I can go bomb down Cordina in La Jolla, and I got up to 48 miles an hour. I get some exhilaration back in my life, and it keeps me optimistic. It's why I still commute every day. And it's also why like every single day of my life, an e-bike is involved.